The car to my right is, of course, the iconic Dodge Viper. And there's a little bit of a backstory to this before we get into what we're talking about in this video. This car was wrapped locally by a shop, somebody that advertises wraps that does this, not a guy in his garage. This is like an actual business. Recently, there was a post on social media by somebody else, that the owner of this car's friend, I guess, where he was like really shredding the quality of the wrap. And supposedly, again, this is all kind of hearsay, but the car went back to the shop more than once to have some things repaired, and eventually the customer ended up not being happy with it. I got connected with the owner of the car because I wanted to see it and see if there's any way that we could help or, whatever. Turns out we can, and so we're gonna be rewrapping this car. Before we do that, I wanted to show you guys sort of what a bad wrap looks like and then a good wrap on the same car. And this isn't to do this to destroy that person that did it. This is basically to show you as the consumer what you should be expecting from a vinyl wrap. Now, before I get into this, we are not perfect. I am certainly not perfect. I've been doing this since 2011, and in those years, I have definitely made mistakes. My team has made mistakes. There's been oversights, there's been problems, there's been things I've had to correct and pay for, and there's been things I've had to eat, like wraps on a car that aren't acceptable and things like that. But the real differentiator with us, we really try our best to make it right. And in the very, very rare occurrence that we can't, which I want to say we've worked on like 40-some thousand cars at this point between all of our locations, I can count on one hand the amount of times something's gotten to a point where we just can't get it right, and we take care of the customer, on the financial side, and just kind of eat all of that material and labor. Unfortunately, this shop was unwilling to eat their cost, so they were only able to give a partial refund. Now, let's get into the wrap. Right away, when you look at the bumper, so if you're 5 feet away from this car, it's like, doesn't look too bad. And then you get up on it. On this bumper, every edge is starting to lift. Now, this is not an old wrap. This was done in a matter of weeks ago. Hardly any miles have been put on this car. This is not something that's 100,000 miles old and 7 years ago. The car was previously wrapped, they removed a wrap, and they rewrapped it. So you can see these edges are lifting everywhere. They've got random patchwork and really awful uneven cuts. They clearly didn't do any disassembly on this bumper. And then down here, you've got this nasty seam that's like it's like an inch long. They've got another seam here, and there's gonna have to be a seam here. When we're done, there will probably be a seam on this part, and same with these areas, but they're gonna be done well, and they're gonna be clean. Down here on the bottom of the bumper, this is already lifting. Once this thing's driven in the rain, like at all of these edges are really gonna start to lift. You can see the body color coming through in many places, and this whole conglomeration of vinyl is less than ideal. On the back side of this bumper, there's stuff just kind of hanging, nothing's trimmed, and then of course there's like seams and cuts and stuff all over the place here. It's lifting all underneath here. They didn't cover the silver all the way. The mirrors are really incredible. There's just piece after piece. No rhyme or reason to how their seams are. Again, vinyl, you're gonna have seams. This is not a liquid, it is not paint. You will have seams. They shouldn't look like that. Around the door handles, it's lifting everywhere. Didn't cover the silver, the rocker panel, or the quarter panel. And in the gas cap area here, got tons of problems in this area. Probably would have been better off leaving that silver. And it's lifting. And so it's the same story. I won't bore you with every single imperfection, but all the way around the car, there are edges lifting, really, really bad cuts, debris underneath the film. And obviously some of this is probably going to be the paint underneath as far as that kind of stuff is concerned, but the debris under, or the surface of the paint doesn't make you make a bad cut on an edge. So areas like down here, everything is lifting. There's silver showing, just kind of stopped like right on this edge. So there's still silver the whole way down there. And this was not a cheap wrap. This isn't a situation of like you get what you pay for. This customer was charged a pretty reasonable amount of money to wrap the car, which makes it even stranger. The tint, we're going to be redoing the tint as well. Oh, this mirror's a fun one. But we're going to be redoing the tint as well. There's a lot of debris and bubbles in the tint. It was retinted more than once. This mirror is interesting. So obviously lots of pieces and cuts that show the body that really don't make any sense, and smears. And the other thing, the material that they wrap the car with is 3M 2080 high gloss. But what they fixed the mirror with looks to me like either 3M 2080 not high gloss or Avery gloss black. Very, very clear difference in the finish between these two products. I'm pretty familiar with all of the above, and if I had to guess, I would say it's Avery. Then in the door jambs, it's lifting everywhere, in the jam as well as on the hood, and all the way around the back of this door. There's just nothing. The corner's lifting up. Nothing is sealed down correctly. Inside the car, now we haven't unwrapped this yet, so we don't know what cut marks or anything we're going to find. But we can tell right away there's a cut mark right here in the door jamb that needs paint. There's really no way to fix that besides repainting. And then back here, there's a cut line where you can see they were using their knife to cut this quarter panel and just kept cutting right onto the tail light. So again, not saying that to trash another person's work. I'm just saying that there's levels to quality, and before you spend a lot of time and effort and energy having something that you care about very much wrapped, make sure you do your homework. It's a shame to see something like this happen to somebody and then not even get a full refund. So now we're going to work our magic and show you the way this thing should look.
Well, life has nearly killed me, and my mind has put me on the edge. Life has nearly killed me, and my mind has put me on the edge. Though I can barely crawl, I've got to walk where these angels.
We are I would say mid-installation, but mid-progress on the Viper. Currently doing the disassembly, which in our opinion is necessary for a good vinyl wrap on just about everything. Sometimes we pull bumpers, sometimes we don't, but if you really want a great install on most cars, you have to. So we have the bumper here, and an interesting thing is the previous shop did not pull the bumper. In fact, they told the customer that it was impossible. As you can see, it is not. There's orange all over this. And the fun thing is, this car was not wrapped orange last time. It was wrapped black. It was wrapped orange before that, which means whoever wrapped it black also did not remove the previous wrap correctly. And so Sakela's been pulling orange wrap off of this thing all over the place. There's a giant chunk of it here, and like even these little tiny pieces where you can see there's some orange. But the other thing that's interesting here is the cut marks all over this car. Now, I don't know if that was the original orange vinyl wrapper or the one that wrapped it black, but there are cuts all through the paint. Whoever did this, these cuts at least, doesn't have a lot of skill with a knife or a lot of skill with something called knifeless tape. So we use knifeless tape almost everywhere where it's possible. It makes for really clean seams, and there's no risk of cutting paint because it's a filament inside of a tape that you pull out. So this is what we're dealing with. Sakela's pulling the headlights out now. The paint's actually in pretty good shape, so I don't see any problem wrapping it. We're gonna get some black laid down today. This thing is gonna look like a paint job when we're done with it. So we got the Viper outside after about a week and a half of work. She's all done. The list of things that we did on the car is relatively extensive. So first, we removed the old wrap that was pretty bad. We revealed the damaged paint and all that stuff underneath. Then we re-prepped the car. It was obvious that there were many parts of the car that weren't properly clay barred or cleaned prior to install. We did our disassembly, which included bumpers, front and rear, headlights, so that we could get the proper wrap underneath the headlights and the fog light holes and all of those things. We also removed the tint and re-tinted it with our Expel ceramic tint. No longer is full of debris and bubbles. We polished the carbon fiber hood and the carbon fiber wing. The carbon fiber had lots of micro scratches and swirl marks, and that was mostly just from years of sitting and possibly improper care. We were able to bring those back to life, remove a lot of the cloudiness, and then we ceramic coated the entire car, including the face of the wheels. So I want to show you guys a detailed, up close look at some of the corners and edges and things like that. But before I do, something you should understand, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, nothing is perfect in our world. There's not a single tint job, PPF job, vinyl job that's perfect. It's impossible. There's too many environmental factors. A speck of debris shows through. In a case like this car, it's a 2004. It's 21 years old. There's going to be damage to the paint underneath. Like, there's one spot in particular that is definitely damage to the paint. It's like this weird texture. That was evident in the other wrap. It's still there. It's not going to go anywhere. We didn't fix the paint underneath it. But what you will notice is much less debris than before. Edges that are crisp and clean and sealed down properly with heat. And where there are seams, the seams are nice and clean. On the bumper, there's quite a bit of seams actually, but really you can't see them because they were all planned out very well and the seams were very purposeful. They weren't an afterthought. It was designed into how we were going to wrap the bumper. Let's check it out. For instance, this area, the fog light surround, there is a seam the whole way around here, and there are seams here and here, but they're very clean seams. You can see our edges do go the entire way. It's still a little bit smudgy. We need to do our final wipe down, but the edges that were silver are no longer silver. We've wrapped the entire way to the inside of the wheel well, all the way around. There's no fingers, there's no puckering, nothing like that. The little details, like inside this door handle, all of this material is trimmed nicely and laid down and sealed. And the mirrors, they have seams. There's a seam here that we actually seamed right on the plastic mold line that the factory does as well. There's a seam underneath here. But again, they're all positioned in a way that doesn't take away from the look of the mirror. And then inside, we went a little bit deeper on the door jamb. That's just sort of personal preference. We wrapped more in here. Now, some of these spots in here, this is paint damage. It's just not super smooth in there. Some little spots of like bubbling paint, but it's nice and smooth in here. Our seams are laid nice and tight and they're sealed up. Same with up here on the back side of the hood. And upon reassembly, there was lots of bolts and things like that missing. And I don't, that could have been from 10 wraps ago or people that worked on the engine, it could have been from anybody, but we did our best to replace missing bolts with, with new bolts and new hardware. So that's it. I just wanted to show you guys what we accomplished on this thing. Hopefully you see it out at a car show or something. Go check it out. Let us know what you think. And thank you very much for watching.
Where the darkness nearly drowned me, the sunlight burned my eyes. This valley is much too deep in this mountain so very high. I got a